Greetings and salutations, welcome back to Capsule to Cone. I'm Matt McQueen. Today we are going to talk about my 3 all-time favorite pedals to use for recording guitars. I am a guitar player. I was a guitar player for many years before I started recording and producing records, and I sort of happened into this career because I was the only one in my circle of friends that wanted to run sound and start to learn how to use Pro Tools. And so I had a laptop about, 12 years ago, and that's when I bought my first Pro Tools rig. Before that, even going back further, 15, 16 years ago into college, I started by playing guitar and building a PC and using Cubase SX version 3 and starting to learn how to just record my demo ideas and songs that I was writing. And so that's sort of how I started into this. But primarily, for many years before I was producing and mixing records, I was a guitar player. And so when it comes time to track the guitars for a record, that's when I get excited. I mean, that's when I really the ideas start to happen, and I constantly am buying pedals and trying new pedals and trying to find ways to make pedals sound interesting or make guitar parts sound interesting with guitar pedals. And so because of that, I have a large collection, and I have some favorites. I've got some things that I like to use as much as I can, or any opportunity that arises, I pull these pedals out. And sometimes people roll their eyes, sometimes people snicker, sometimes they might not want to try them, but I still pull them out and we try it, and sometimes they make their way onto records. And I have a few go-tos that are my all-time favorites, and I probably tried these techniques way too much, but I love them. So let's dive in. Let's talk about the 3 pedals that I love the most out of all the pedals that I own. So grab yourselves a tasty beverage. I have today Bellevue, which is the Aldi version of another sparkling beverage. It's got a hint of grapefruit in this one. And let's talk about pedals. All right, the first one, this is maybe a little bit more standard. A lot of people have this on their pedal board. A lot of people use this pedal. I happen to produce both rock and country records, and one of my all-time favorite pedals to bring out for anything country is the MXR Phase 90. This is a glorious pedal, and this is actually my limited edition orange sparkle version that Guitar Center put out last year. So I don't know if you can see that or not on camera, but it's not just the standard orange. There's a little, there it is. There's a little metal flake in that guy, and this is one of my favorites. I bring this out all the time, and if you're doing a country record, you almost need one. And that's why I have one. I've had several over the years, because the trick to the classic, like traditional Waylon Jennings country sound is to take the speed knob and just turn that sucker all the way down. You just turn it all the way down, set as slow as it will go, and you record a clean sound in Telecaster or a clean sound in Stratocaster. And so a lot of times I'll end up using a Bassman. I've got a Bassman. I'll set that sort of clean. That's not the cleanest amp that I have, though. Probably the Princeton. I'll use the Princeton, and it's a non-reverb, and maybe I'll add some reverb in post. But that is what I did on Sydney Adams' record. This is a song called Bringing Her Memory Home that I recorded, and here is what the guitars sound like through the Phase 90 pedal, and I'll let you take a listen to that.
Digging up bones and stoking old flames. All of these feelings that you can't explain. With you or alone, it's all the same.
So there you go, the Phase 90 pedal, one of my all-time favorites for recording guitars. Definitely use it all the time on country records, and I've also had some success using it on some other records to get kind of crazy, wackier sounds. If you turn the speed all the way up, it's great for sort of 90s rock, vibey kind of guitar parts. And so definitely Phase 90, top 3. The next one is one that I've had actually, 3 or 4 times. I'm not sure why I've sold this pedal, because I always end up coming back to it because it does a certain thing that I love, and I probably should have never sold it, but I've had this one now for, I don't know, maybe a year, and before that, Goldman had one here. His is now at his other studio in Atlanta, and this one is mine, but it is the POG 2. This is a fantastic pedal for recording ambient type of textures, and that's what I often use it for. Obviously it does way more than that, but this is my favorite pedal to use for that sort of a thing because it never quite sounds the same, even if you're doing the same sort of thing with it. And so a lot of times what I'll end up doing is using maybe some sort of delay pedal after it, or a really, really dense reverb to end up making the ambience just kind of crazy blown out, and it's something that I'll end up layering up with 4 or 5 or 6 tracks. And so the song that I'm going to show you that I use this on is by 8 Days Sober. We've showed that before on the channel, and at the very end of the song we wanted to make the sort of last and final verse have kind of this left turn where it just totally deviates from sort of the classic southern rock kind of vibe that the song has. And I ended up grabbing a guitar, grabbing this pedal, a volume pedal, and I believe a Strymon timeline. Set them all up, put a bunch of repeats on the Strymon timeline on a tape delay setting, and then set this up for multiple octaves, and the last verse just goes back and forth between, I believe, an E and a D chord. I didn't play a major or minor, I was just doing root and fifth, so sort of a power chord thing, but it was higher up on the neck, and using the volume pedal to swell into the POG and the delay, and I ended up tracking, I don't know, 6 or 8 passes of that, and doing it at a couple of different spots on the neck and changing settings on the POG between each pass so that they were all a little bit different, and just layered up this whole big ambient swell section. So not the only song that I've done that on, but definitely one of my more favorite examples of using this pedal with that effect. So let's listen to those guitars on 8 Days Sober's song Truth.
Faster than you think, so keep your eyes open, don't blink, 'cause in an instant it's all gone. Truth is life don't last that long.
And so that brings us to our third and final pedal. This is definitely at the top of the heap for me. I love to use this pedal. I use it every chance that I get, and even sometimes when I'm not given a chance, I still pull it out and try to plug it in and sneak it in there. I use it as much as I possibly can, and that is the Electro-Harmonix Deluxe Memory Man. It's a fantastic pedal. Analog delay at its finest. Also has chorus and vibrato built into it. It can distort a little bit if you want to overload it, and it has the cool overload LED on there that might worry you a little bit, but it also is fantastic for oscillating the crap out of some guitar part. Just crank the feedback all the way up, and then you get this awesome, pitch diving, changing, crazy ambient effect by just messing with the knobs. And I use this every chance that I get for transitions of different parts of songs. The Memory Man for me remains the one that sounds the most interesting, and I think it's because of that chorus vibrato section on there. It just adds such a nice subtle modulation, and I have tried different versions of this. The Memory Man with Hazarai, I don't actually think that one's an analog one. I don't know for sure, so somebody can let me know in the comments. I've also tried different emulations of it. The green Line 6, still have one of those kicking around the studio. The DL4, also tried the HX Stomp and the M13, and those versions of those emulations of the Memory Man, they just do not do the same thing. The knobs don't work the same way, and so I have to have a real Memory Man. So the song that I'm going to show you that I used this on is Layla Joe by Jordan Allen and the Bellwethers. Probably one of my favorite uses of this pedal, and that is partly due to the fact that I didn't tell the guitar player that was playing this solo that I was going to do this at the end of the song. But the Memory Man was on the entire time, and I just, at the very end of the solo, right on time, cranked the feedback up, got all kinds of crazy oscillation out of it, and then slowed it way down and used it as the perfect transition going into the last part of the song. So let me go ahead and show you what that sounds like. There you go. Those are my 3 favorite pedals. There were actually a bunch more that I wanted to include in this, but I wanted to keep the video from getting crazy long and having tons of different examples to show you. But I do have a couple of honorable mentions. And I also can't really show you examples of these 2 just because they're so new to me that some of the records that I'm working on that I've already used these pedals on, I don't have examples that have been released that I can show you. But the Foxrock's Octron, this is freaking amazing. It has a high octave and a low octave, and you can blend your direct signal back into it, and it sounds to me better than any other octave pedal that's out there, so that's definitely an honorable mention. The JHS Bender, if I can get that in the light, there we go. That's a fantastic pedal too. I really like to use this where, let's say we've had a guitar riff that's gone on too long and you need some kind of an ear break. Throw a fuzz pedal on, stack it up, make it sound like a bunch of bumblebees. Really cool effect for that. And finally, the Boss Slicer. This is a fantastic pedal. Clearly I don't know how to orient them in front of the camera so they look straight, but whatever. That's also a really cool pedal, so maybe I'll do some videos on those later. My top 3 favorite: MXR Phase 90, POG 2, Deluxe Memory Man. So if you don't have those pedals, check them out for yourself. I've been Matt, this is Capsule to Cone. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, hit the bell, all the stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.